everyone.
Hi, John.
Hello, welcome to the panel. So first of all, I'd like to circle back to Eric. So Eric, you were very, very clear with how Huawei has come into the country, but I'd like to delve into the last point that you made in your presentation. It piqued my interest. The Huawei Spark. So you said that the Huawei Spark is a hybrid accelerator program. Could you please expound on that? I do know that you are allotting about 125,000 US dollars in cloud services. Is this per company that you're supporting, or is this the total fund? Eric? Okay, so it seems Eric is not with us right now. Okay. All right, so I'll move now to Mark. So Mark, how are you doing?
Oh, okay. So 6 hours behind in Cyprus here.
You're in Cyprus. You are all over the world. I can't keep track of exactly where you are at any given moment. But Mark, you're very familiar to me and to us on our TV show, The Final Pitch. You were one of our investor judges for our previous seasons. And I do remember back in 2018 when you first joined us that one of the main goals of Tagcash, which is your company, is really to be able to make the Philippines a cashless society. Obviously, the pandemic has speeded things up. It has helped achieve your goal as well. Could you share with us now, Mark, how things were different back in 2018 and how things are different now, and the efforts that Tagcash has been doing through the years and currently now, your platforms?
Sure. Well, I've been in the Philippines for 8 years, so it's been an interesting path. So when I started the business in 2012 in the Philippines, and one of the first problems we had was one of the first problems I noticed was lack of payment problem and use of micropayments. So Gcash and PayMaya have changed quite a lot since then. But that got me into cryptocurrencies at the beginning, Bitcoin, and then e-money. The problems we've got in the Philippines are still the same for all e-wallets. So internet access, the speed of access, the cost of the access, and educational problems. So a lot of scamming going on, and lack of trust in systems, and people wanting cash. So the COVID has speeded that up. So my business has had advantages with COVID, but also my investments in others are not doing so well right now. I've got investments in retail, combining fintech and retail. So those have been impacted by COVID. So all the e-wallets have the same issues, a shared problem. Working with the ICT government departments, we could work to make that better. I co-founded the FinTech and Philippines Association 3 years ago, and so we're promoting our agenda to make things better, working as together rather than separate companies. The other things we could do are, I suppose, on mesh networks to improve internet connectivity, but I can't solve all those problems. I'd like to concentrate as well on e-learning courses for fintech, etc. So Tagcash itself, we're a small player, so we can't compete with the giants like PayMaya and Gcash directly. And my interests are more tech related. I like tech and I want to concentrate on that. So we've been moving to application as a service model, rather like software as a service, but this is application service. So creation of dynamically loaded mini apps on the platform, a bit like WeChat. I think people are familiar with that model. And offering a path to white labeling. So we leverage our e-money license, so you can, companies or developers can create hyperlocal or city-based apps, e-learning apps, e-commerce, lending, anything like that, integrating fintech. So, because I believe the future is not wallets per se, but apps that embed the banking services. And I'll be looking to invest in more promising apps that are created on the platform. So not changing very much on the the investment side, as you know. I like doing that. The market for us will be developers, anyone who wants to create digital solutions, and marketing will be via hackathons. So, for example, I was a judge and mentor on the Legazpi City Hackathon. It was just less than a year ago. And we had 120 students competing to create solutions for local government. And some of the problem was the tech knowledge there to create those solutions wasn't quite there. So I knew that that's a problem. So what we want to do is make it easier to create tech solutions integrating fintech, maybe codeless, using building blocks, like one of the panelists mentioned Lego. So it's pretty much like that. So some developers can make money by creating the building blocks for others to use to build the apps, whether that's mini apps inside Tagcash or white label apps. So I also share time between Europe and the Philippines. So we're targeting Philippines and Europe for remittances. But we had, I went up to Lithuania to start creating an EMI license up there, and I live in Cyprus half the time. So the problems here, the central banks, for example, in Cyprus, they close the door if you mention anything about tokenization or cryptocurrency. So in some ways, Philippines is far ahead on the central banking side than in Europe. So that's an issue for me. But I'll be also exploring fintech usage in Africa as well. So I'll be going to Kenya, Nairobi, learning about M-Pesa and some of the stuff over there, and bringing those lessons back from both Europe and Africa to Philippines. I mean, I bank here with Revolut. I can't bank locally in Cyprus, and I don't want to anyway. Products like Revolut allow me to do things like block cards instantly, lots of other features. So I like Revolut, and eventually they'll come to the Philippines. So I'd like to work with Revolut in Singapore. So we had a chat with the CEO over there and see if we can do something there. There's 500,000 Filipinos in Europe, so they're sending money back every month back home. So I think some of the groundwork that you should be done publicly. We make internet access better. Maybe issue a mandate for open banking like in Europe. More education for fintech. InstaPay and PesaNet have been made free for quite a while now, and I think maybe we should carry on making them free. But there are, I'd like to see an issuance of a stablecoin, either a central bank currency or something else. In Europe, I just read news this morning about Bitbond and Bankhaus von der Heep. They just issued a euro stablecoin on Stellar. Stellar is one of my favorite blockchains. So you can do 1 million transactions for 50 pesos. And as an cross-border transfer of money, that's the best blockchain for it. But there are other initiatives like an algorithmic-based peso coming out shortly from people we know in the industry. You probably know what I'm talking about. And I think more credit should be made available, cheaper lending, maybe lending caps on that, better credit scoring, more access to APIs, and you probably know about the FinTech Sandbox, the industry sandbox we're creating through the FinTech Association. That will help to broaden out the tech innovations. And I want to be part of that mix and making it easier for people to create apps and services online.
And so, Mark, definitely you will be part of that, whether virtually or physically. We'll be back hopefully after the vaccine rolls out. So I would now like to move on to the next question is for Manish. So Manish, out of all the ASEAN countries that are approaching next year, why did UNO choose to launch its services here in the Philippines? Any significant KPI that you're targeting in your first year of launch?
I think I can go on the list of kind of the reasons, but let me try to just keep it in one hand.
Okay.
So I think let's start from the kind of the bigger statistics. Like I think a lot has been talked about since today morning about uh, underbanked, unbanked, 51 million people kind of not banked. Forget talking about the underbanked. That is again a decent 10-15% of number. And when you look on the credit side, is a similar story on the lending side. More than 50% of the people borrow from outside the organized sectors and at very, very high interest rates. So there is this pressing need out there. While on the other side, you see there's strong tailwinds. Philippines has the highest social media use average time globally. Digital adoption is very, very fast, as we have seen in the last few months. People are very, very comfortable using mobile phone, and they're looking for this change. And then you look at the macro overdrop. Like, I know COVID has slowed down the GDP growth for this year, but Philippines has been kind of portrayed to have the highest GDP growth in the region till 2025, higher than India and China. That was the projections going into 2020. And lastly, I would say I have managed 14 countries. I've moved around. I would say BSP has been one of the most progressive regulators. And that had been a big inputs to kind of making our decision. As someone pointed out, they moved and gave a digital license much before the digital license framework came through. So the entire country is thinking towards kind of digitalization, and that kind of really sealed our decision to look at Philippines and work with this progressive regulator. And we have seen Mel being so supportive earlier during the previous sessions. On your point on the KPIs, we plan to make a huge dent on the lending side. There is definitely a pressing need to kind of participate on the financial inclusion side. And our approach for the year one is to kind of grow slowly, test, validate, bring the groundwork, make sure you have the right ecosystem partners, make sure you have the BSP and all the regulators comfortable with your story, and then look at year two onwards as the kind of inflection point. That's the approach we are taking.
Okay, thank you very much. And we move now to Mylene Chua of Paynamics. So Mylene, many MSMEs were left cash-strapped during the pandemic. Amid the crisis, the Philippines has seen disruption in economic activity and even an onslaught of closed shops. And this is where Paynamics saw an opportunity to solve the collection and disbursement pain points of many struggling MSMEs. So, Mylene, how is Paynamics different from other general purpose consumer wallets? And how does it help the country in achieving the goal of financial inclusivity for all?
Thank, First of all, thank you, John, for having me today for this FinTech Festival. Well, just to give you a background about Paynamics, Paynamics is a payment solutions provider that enable companies to accept and disburse payments through online and offline means. So our growth as a payment provider has further accelerated during the pandemic as many businesses are starting to realize the importance of having an online presence and being able to accept digital payments. Before the pandemic, businesses still needs a lot of convincing on why e-commerce is the way moving forward. Now they are the ones reaching out to Paynamics asking for the digital payment solutions. So the increase in demand for digital payments is actually happening now and is inevitable. So consumer behavior is shifting, it's ever changing. There's been a shift in the consumer mindset. Many are now inclined to transact through digital platforms or digital channels such as online shopping, bills payment, entertainment, food ordering, remittances, and prompting, which prompts the surge in digital payments. So Paynamics is ever ready to serve this market as it has been doing so for the last 10 years. So with regards to your question, how are we different from the giant ones? Most of actually e-wallets now cater to consumer where it allows consumers to pay bills, buy prepaid loads, and have access to financial products such as opening a savings account or applying for a loan or availing of insurance products. So for Paynamics, our focus is the Philippine market where there are more than 4,000 large enterprises, 106,000 small enterprises, and 4,000 more than 4,000 medium enterprises. and about 800,000 units of micro business establishment. So of this, only 12% or about 120,000 of all merchants accepts digital payments back in 2018. So digital payments accounted for, as you know, only 1% of the country's total transaction volume of 2.5 billion payments per month, no, back in 2013. So in 2018, it has changed significantly. The volume of digital payments has increased to 10% of overall payments, in which the overall transactions was estimated to be between 4.6 and 5.8 billion. So it's estimated that there are 470 to 490 million digital transactions every month in the Philippines. So where Paynamics comes in is to simplify the payment acceptance for small and medium enterprises, solving their pain points in terms of making their collection and disbursement seamless and efficient. So our target includes online sellers, freelance professionals, restaurants, franchising businesses, companies that are providing services such as laundry shops, pest controls, repair shops, barber shops, salons, etc. We are also targeting travel related merchants such as accommodations, travel agencies, transportation, logistics companies, and some creditable charitable institutions. So we wanted to solve the two pain points of many SMEs, as mentioned, collection and disbursement. We want to target SMEs and help them bounce back quicker from this pandemic by offering a facility that streamlines their collection and disbursement efforts. As you know, SMEs do not have much resources to invest in technology, and we want to help them solve their pain points through our low-cost, innovative payment solutions. So as part of building trust in the Paynamics brand, we recently obtained our e-money license to help SMEs adapt to the digital transformation. So we are actually one with BSP on its goal to increase the volume of digital retail payments to 50% and raising the financial inclusion rate to about 70% by 2023. So as you know, our Paynamics core values revolves around our passion to solving problems through innovation and technology. Our strategy has always been to collaborate with financial institutions and tech champions. So we believe that by providing robust, easy to use and scalable platform that offers easy access to more payment options for both SMEs and consumers, it will accelerate the shift to digital economy faster. So with our adoption to innovative technology, applying the right strategy, as Manish has mentioned earlier, and execution, we're confident that Paynamics can be a big player in providing e-payment solutions to micro, small, and medium enterprises and achieve our goal to onboard about 100,000 merchants by 2023.
Well, that's a big, very audacious goal, Mylene, but thank you very much for sharing your insights. And I'd like to close now. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. And I'd like to now ask you to each share about 30 seconds for your final words. Let's start with Manish.
I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier. I think it's all about the customer and fintechs, banks, traditional banks, new companies, digital banks, all have to start thinking what does a really customer want? What's the pain point? And how can we convert those pain points to gain points for everyone? And I think that's going to make a overall success of the companies, make the clients happy, and help the whole system be much richer.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Well, I'd just like to get back to the Philippines at some point when I'm allowed back in. Didn't realize when I left in August that I wouldn't be let in again. So I've learned a lot actually from Europe and European methods of payment from products like Revolut, Monzo, Starling, and so on. And I'm looking forward to taking that knowledge back to the Philippines and doing what I've been doing for a while, which is helping people innovate in the tech sector.
Very thankful for that. And finally, Mylene, final words from you.
Yeah, so I agree with Manish in creating value for consumers. So for us, since the topic is FinTech 21 Philippine Outlook, I'd like to appeal also to all of the institutions, government, private institutions, consumers to be its own, to collaborate closely and work together in achieving our goal to to achieve at least 100%, if not increase the um, adoption of digital payments, at the same time financial inclusion.
Thank you very much, Mylene. And Manish, Mark, I feel a kindred spirit with your common objectives. So thank you very much for joining us today in this panel. Maraming salamat.
Thank you,
so
Joe.
much.
Thank you, organizers, and all the best to FinTech 2021.